and it's a fun introduction to the Dragon Quest world for just $3. And I forget how many they have on the iPhone right now, but definitely the first 4 games are on there. As you get higher in number, the games get a little bit more expensive, but I don't think that they ever get past like $10. But if you're looking for, if you're like, oh, okay, well, I see Bad's playing this game, and I want something a little bit more complex, a little bit more recent, or I want like the best NES Dragon Quest game, I would say that Dragon Quest really kind of fell into its own and got a lot of the famous traits of the Dragon Quest series in 3. 3 is an excellent game, and it's actually about the legendary hero Erdrick that everyone talks about in this game. So it's kind of like the prequel to this game in the same world. Okay, so for the original DS, you have remakes of 4, 5, and 6. All those are excellent games. I would say if you want the best one, I couldn't recommend 6. Even though 6 is a good game, I think that 4 and 5 are much better games. And then between 4 and 5, it really depends on what kind of experience you want. If you want to see one character have a story focused entirely on his life through 3 generations of people, then 5 is the way to go. If you want a large cast that focuses on several different characters before they all come together for a main quest, then you should pick 4. But both 4 and 5 are excellent games. I think Yuji Horii says that he himself is most proud of and thinks the best game in the series is 5. But sometimes I teeter back and forth on that, because I do like a lot of the characters in 4. And by the time you get to 4, like, you know, every character has a personality, and the story is a lot more complex than this game is. Yeah, both are really interesting games. And even though the first trilogy of this series are all connected in the same world, just in different times, 4 through 6 are a little bit more loosely connected. So it really doesn't matter if you play those games out of order at all. There's only a few things that connect the 3 games that aren't necessary knowledge for you as you continue through them. Nothing is really wrong with 6, but like 4 and 5 are just so good, and the concept was really good. 6 is still interesting. Like, the concept of 6 is that there are 2 worlds, and you're not actually sure like what world is the real world and what world is like the Mirage world or whatever, I think, at first. But I would say that the characters aren't as strong as the characters in 4, and then just the quest isn't as epic as the quest in 5. It kind of takes a little bit of both, I would say. But since it's just not quite as good as 4 in characters, not quite as epic as 5, then you're just left with something that's still really great, but maybe doesn't have quite the impact that the other games had. Now, if you want to wait until 3DS comes out with 7, that's another game that's just, like I said, that game is a damn long quest with a lot of different places to visit and a lot of different things to do. It's just, you've got to be ready for that game. Because it will suck a lot of time. And there's actually some new features for the 3DS version of the game that weren't in the original PlayStation game, and that's just like adding more stuff to a game that was already... Well, okay, that's actually not fair, because the 3DS version, they have done some things that make the beginning of the game faster than the original version. So they took out some things that some Japanese people thought were, well, I guess English speaking people too, but mostly Japanese because the game sold much better in Japan. They kind of streamlined all of those things. Yeah, like, no exaggeration. In the original PlayStation release of Dragon Quest VII, I think it took about 3 hours of gameplay before you fought your first battle. 2.5 hours at the fastest. It was definitely not less than 2 hours. And that's not even... I mean, there's no classes or anything then. You just have your characters and you're fighting for a while, and then you have to do even more stuff and you start unlocking more and more of the game. And man, by the end of it, there is like 40 classes and tons of continents and tons of places to visit. It's just a huge game. And 8, I haven't actually played the 3DS version of 8 yet because I came back to the States before that was released. But I'm kind of glad that I haven't played it yet because I never played the American version of that game on the PlayStation 2, and the American version had voice acting and I hear the localization was pretty fun. And I just played Dragon Quest Heroes a few weeks ago, and I got to see some of the old characters from like 4 and 5 and some of the other games in the series, and I thought the localization was really cute. So I'm kind of excited to play 8 in English when it comes out. And yeah, this is what I thought might happen. Seems like since we're just grinding here, we lost all of our viewers except for you, Nana. That's okay though. Only after this fight we should only be about 4,000 gold away from our shield anyway, and we can try one more time for the Axe Knight tonight and hopefully get our armor as promised. Oh well, thank you for saying so. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a big fan of Dragon Quest, so I know quite a lot more than I think a lot of people in America do anyway. Yeah, actually, what was it? It was probably about 4 years ago now, but it was actually for the 25th anniversary. They had almost a, I want to say a museum like there's this space in downtown Tokyo in Roppongi called the Mori Tower, and it's like 60 floors tall. And on the very top floor they have an art gallery, and usually that was used for, you know, of course, like showing off different pieces of famous artwork or having huge parties on like New Year's Eve or whatever. But on the 25th anniversary of Dragon Quest, they decided to do a celebration of the original game releases. So they rented out the entire space, and they had the history from the very first game to the most recent game in the series, which I think at the time was 9. And they had the original maps of like the dungeons and stuff in this game drawn out on graph paper, the original pieces of graph paper that you could see, and then the original Akira Toriyama art for all the character designs and like this game and other games in the series. So they had all that stuff, and then they had like the original Famicom cards, and they showed like the localization versions. And before you got to see any of that, you had to wait at the front entrance, and they would make you choose a class in the game. So I went there with my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and one of my friends visiting from America that used to play Dragon Warrior with me back when we were like 7 years old or whatever. And he was a warrior, Senshi, and I was a Soryo, which is the priest class, and my wife was the magician class. So you go to different stations and you have to answer like different questions about the game to kind of get different abilities and stuff on your character sheet. And then halfway through the exhibit, you walk into this room and this person's talking to you, and out of nowhere the Dragon Lord just comes up in the middle of the room. It's this huge dragon. And then they're like, oh man, we need a party of 4 people to battle this dragon. Do we have any volunteers? And so my friend who was the warrior raised his hand, and he got to be the warrior in the party, and then some other people we didn't know filled the rest of the positions. But then they kind of had like this Dragon Quest battle using like their different abilities, and they even had like a sword. They had Lodo's sword for my friend when he was playing the warrior. And they just got to do this fake battle in the middle of this museum with the Dragon Lord. It was fucking crazy. It was really fun. So that was another way that I celebrated the 25th anniversary, I guess 5 years ago now. Wow, that's crazy. And of course that was a huge hit. So after that they did those kind of exhibitions for a lot of other like famous manga or games or whatever. Like there was one for Sailor Moon not that long ago. There's one for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that I'm really pissed that I missed. Actually, I really wanted to see that one. There was one for One Piece that I did go to. That was fun. But I think Dragon Quest was the best one, because of like all the effort they put into it with like the character class cards and stuff. It was just a lot of fun. Oh wow, and I've been talking so much that we're less than 2,000 gold away from our goal here. We're probably only about 300 experience from the next level, so that works out pretty good. Then we can take on this knight. Yeah, maybe if I remember next time, I think I have some pictures from when we were at the Dragon Quest exhibit. So